A controversial surveillance program from the early days of the war on terror is set to end as the National Security Agency recommends abandoning a phone data collection program once defended by national security officials as a critical anti-terrorism tool. Officials have reportedly been ramping the program down. In March, the New York Times reported that the NSA had quietly shut down a system that analyzes logs of Americans' domestic calls and texts, according to a senior Republican congressional aide. So let's look at how much the program was collecting when it was active. The program collected more than 534 million phone and text records from Americans, according to an NSA report. That is 3 times more than what was collected in 2016, 151 million Americans. And the program has been rife with controversy after reporting in 2005 revealed President George W. Bush signed an executive order creating the program 3 years earlier. Privacy and civil liberty advocates, even some officials, quickly criticized it, saying they consider warrantless eavesdropping inside the United States to be unlawful and possibly unconstitutional. In 2013, then NSA contractor Edward Snowden leaked details on the program before fleeing abroad. And in 2018, the NSA announced that it began deleting all call detail records, CDRs, acquired since 2015 because of something they called technical irregularities that gave the agency data it was not authorized to receive. Now sources tell the Wall Street Journal that this controversial program has the logistical and legal burdens of keeping it keeping it outweighs its intelligence benefits. Joining us now is NBC National Security and Intelligence reporter Courtney Kube and Ned Price, former CIA analyst and senior director for the National Security Council.
All right, let's start with this, Courtney. Why exactly is the NSA making this recommendation at this time?
Well, Steph, as Ali said in the intro there, this is a system that hasn't been used for some time. And as you mentioned, the New York Times reported that there was already talk of shutting down this program. What's particularly interesting about this Wall Street Journal story today is they're saying that, in fact, the NSA has formally requested that the White House no longer continue this program, and that they're saying that because of the intelligence gathering. It does not match the legal and the logistical problems that it takes to keep the program going. Of course, it was set to expire at the end of this year anyway, so Congress would have had to approve the continuation of this program, Steph.
Ned, this is a very controversial matter. Where do you believe this White House comes down on this?
Well, I think that's the question. The White House has not yet made a decision. This is a recommendation that has come from career officials at the NSA, career officials who over time have recognized that the value of this program does not outweigh the risk that it imposes. My concern, however, Ali, is that there still remains some support for this program in Congress. We could hear some within Congress, especially in the Senate Intelligence Committee, push for a reauthorization of this program, even when you have the NSA arguing that it's not worth it. My concern is that this is a White House that likes to act tough. They like to take action. They like to do things to show that they are being serious, especially vis-a-vis challenges like terrorism. And so they could portray the reauthorization of this program, essentially jamming it down NSA's throat, as one of those steps. I think it would be something that would actually not make us more safe. It would in some ways make us less safe, eroding the civil liberties and privacies that we've come to expect, but it would not be beyond this administration, I think.
So, Courtney, the DNI, Director of National Intelligence, Dan Coats, who was a U.S. Senator, authored a 2018 op-ed in the Wall Street Journal. 2013, thank you, when he was a member of the Senate Intel Committee, saying that programs like this one, quote, represent some of the most effective means available to protect the country. And while everything depends on trust, returning to a pre-9/11 security posture will make this country less safe. I guess the question is this. Is it unwieldy and unnecessary, or is it crucial to national security? Do you get some sense at the Pentagon, for instance, that there's some understanding, some shared understanding of this?
So there are, I mean, Ned knows this better than anyone. There are a whole slew of options for the intelligence community, both the military intelligence and the civilian intelligence, to gather information. I think what's critical here is how is this administration and members of Congress, as Ned was saying, how are they going to see the terror threat right now, and whether this program actually was able to glean enough intelligence to really combat that terror threat. One thing that we need to keep in mind, though, is that in fact, the program has not been used for some time. There is continuing to be a terror threat against the West. ISIS, Al-Qaeda. There's a tremendous Al-Qaeda threat in Yemen. They've shown the desire to try to export that terror to the West, to the United States and whatnot. So there still is this continuing terror threat, but they haven't been using this kind of intelligence gathering method for some time.
Hey, MSNBC fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there and click on any of the videos here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. You can get more MSNBC for free every day with our newsletters. Just visit msnbc.com/newsletters to sign up now.